Hey, it's Arvid, and as promised in this rather quick video I'll be breaking down a few pieces of traditional marketing advice based on how true they are and which ones you should use in order to grow your business and which ones you should probably avoid in order to progress and in order to be able to grow your business. So let's just get straight to it. The first advice that I want to break down is the fact that your offer is more important than your marketing. And this advice straight goes into a series because what very few people understand is that you simply cannot sell an offer if it isn't genuinely good over a prolonged period of time. You might be able to scam someone into saying yes once, but if you don't deliver, they won't buy again. And a business depends on recurring revenue from its customers. So build out your offer, have a genuinely superior offer that you can market, because that'll just make it much easier as well, and it'll help you outsell the competition without really trying. The second piece of advice that I see so many people falling for is having a broad target market. Our target market is men and women ages 18 to 75. This advice right here it's getting straight into D tier. I'm gonna be honest, and the reason it's not in E or F tier is quite frankly because they are rare, but there are cases where you genuinely sell to everybody and anybody. For example, if you're a company that sells water, your target audience is quite literally anything. Now that goes back to a general marketing truth that says you either sell something ridiculously expensive to a selected few, or something insanely cheap to every single person out there. The middle is where people usually die, so even if you have a company that sells everything to anybody, there are likely a few target avatars that are more likely to purchase your product, and I'd figure those out. Though in the very rare cases where genuinely everybody of any age, of any gender buys your stuff, that is when you can get away with this. Though if you're in this kind of market, then it's really hard to be able to stand out and to really tailor your marketing. So you're going to be careful with this. There's probably a way that you can narrow down your target market even further, which is just going to help you gain more market share right there. Now let's just get straight to the next piece of advice, which is analyzing competitor ads or just the marketing of your competitors. And this right here will probably get into B tier. And the reason it's not an AOS tier is because many marketers usually fall for the mistake of analyzing the competition, getting to know what they sound like, and then instead of positioning themselves different, they just say the exact same thing, just with another rapper. And it doesn't really change anything. So sure, you should be studying your competitors' ads. You definitely should. However, that doesn't mean you want to copy them. That doesn't mean you want to sound like them, which is what many marketing people fall for, and therefore they just lose profits that they could have made. So analyze your competitors, but don't fall for the mistake of just blatantly copying them. Your competitors will notice, your customers will notice, and if you're not able to stand out, nobody will freaking buy from you. Now, next comes market research, which is basically all about crawling inside your prospect's mind so you know exactly what they need to hear in order to be sold. This this is straight S tier advice. You got to know the fears and the dreams of your market better than anybody else, and you got to utilize that in your marketing because, and this is important, that way your prospects feel understood and that your marketing is tailored directly to them, which builds liking, which builds trust, which then ultimately leads to the sale. And you also know which buttons you need to press in order to get your customers to take action if you know their dreams, if you know their fears, and if you know what you need to do and what you don't need to do in order to get their trust and in order to get the cash. Now you have to be careful with your market research not to trust your buyers and your prospects that much. And the reason that is because people are very unlikely to give you the true motivations for buying. For example, someone who has just bought a fitness coaching offer, he might say, I want to get fit, I want to feel confident, I want to do this, I want to do that. And sure, those are some of the dreams that he has, but they're not the deeper level stuff. They're not what truly makes him take action. What really makes him take action is wanting to be hotter, wanting to be more attractive, wanting to get laid or get dates. Or for other people, it might be that they want to stop feeling like shit, that they want to stop feeling like a failure. And you got to think of stuff like this that people won't publicly say because it is socially inappropriate. But it is the true reason why they want to buy. You gotta keep that in mind. Now, let's just get to the next thing, and that is something that mainly salespeople follow, though I've seen marketers do this as well. Always be closing. And I get where this quote and this system is coming from. Though usually when you always try to sell, when you're always pitching, always selling without giving any kind of value, without building a relationship, then your customers won't buy from you. They'll just be annoyed at best and probably won't ever want to hear from you at worst. So I won't put this in E tier because I kind of see where they're coming from. I'll put this into probably C tier. It doesn't deserve a D tier because you got to be closing. You got to sell. Of course, that is important. You need profits in order to survive. But many people take this to the extreme and never tell a story, never share something personal, never handle objections. They're just always closing, always pitching, always narrow-minded on pushing their agenda through without ever thinking about the prospects. They just want to make profits and they don't care about their prospects most of the time. And therefore, the prospects notice and they won't be likely to purchase. So be closing, sure, but also teach, motivate, inspire, handle objections, share stories, whatever applies to your particular market. Let's just get to the next piece of advice, and that is that long copy is dead. And this right here is straight getting into it here. And it might seem logical at first to believe that long form marketing copy is dead, since people's attention span is shorter than ever before. Though, something that all of the top marketers realize is that people's attention spans aren't really getting shorter, they just get bored more easily. And that's a big difference right there. When you get bored more easily, you're still able to spend hours upon hours on one thing as long as it interests you and as long as it doesn't bore you. And that is the job of copy. You can't afford to bore your customers. You got to keep that in mind. And when people say that you gotta have short form copy, you gotta be short, you gotta be precise, that's complete bullshit. Because as long as what you talk about is of your prospect's interest, they will read through it. If I gave you a book that interests the heck out of you, that you always wanted to read for your entire freaking life, and every page is riveting, but it's 5,000 pages, I'd bet you'd still finish that book before a 10-pager that you don't give a fuck about. And that is a fundamental truth that you need to understand. You can have long form copy and still win. Because the more you tell, the more you sell. That is a fundamental marketing truth as long as you don't bore your customers. Keep that in mind. Now, let's get to the last piece of advice, which is that a confused mind always says no. This is getting into probably A tier. And the reason it's not in S tier is because people usually take this advice in the wrong way. The advice by itself is true. When your prospects are confused, they'll never say yes to what you're offering. The only problem is that when your customers are unstimulated and when your marketing message is so dumbed down and so simple and so not riveting and just so blank, then they won't buy from you as well. Now, that doesn't mean you should complicate the heck out of your marketing message. It doesn't mean you should take all of the substance from it as well. You should have a story, you should have an arc, you should have at least something that triggers something in your prospect's mind. Just something that makes them think, even for a little while. And the reason that is because David Ogilvy used to say that your prospects aren't stupid. They're basically kind of like your wife. They very well understand what you're talking about most of the time. And funnily enough, when we believe that our prospects are more stupid than they really are, and we dumb down our copy, prospects feel insulted. And if we put our prospects on a pedestal and we believe that they're so smart and we pump up our copy and complexity, that's when people usually act stupid. So you gotta find a balance. You gotta have some substance and still have it be so simple that only an absolute idiot wouldn't get it. And you wouldn't want those as your customers either way, would you? Now, with all of this advice ranked, what I want you to do next is I want you to click the link that I put in the description below where I created a free guide for you that breaks down 3 more simple marketing ways that you can deploy inside your business within the next 90 days in order to add a zero to your profits almost on demand. This is a very quick read. It's about 18 pages. And within these 18 pages, you'll discover stuff that has quite literally taken me 4 years in marketing to discover, and I use for my clients with every single project that I take on. So feel free to check out the guide, it's completely free, and feel free to leave a like and drop a follow as well, because that way I'm able to keep these videos coming. And I hope this was useful either way, and see you.